Hello again. This is the section on how iThrive.com measures stress. Remember, stress measure is like critical. It's a corporate turning point in finding out if your employees are okay. It has tremendous commercial value to measure stress, of course, medically. So stress measure it's a billion-dollar industry. It's very important to be able to measure stress. And iThrive.com represents a breakthrough way to do that. Now, initially, when we introduced the sacrocranial work with iThrive in the other clip, we explained that there is a phase relationship between the natural pressure of the body and the electric pressure of the body, the heart peak versus the Mayer wave, the pressure peak. So, but just reviewing, there are actually three separate ways in which iThrive.com measures stress. Number one, the long-term resting heart rate increase. So by doing long-term averaging of heart rate, and Patrick's going to explain a little bit about how that baseline is important. So the first way we measure stress is simple, that if the heart rate is increasing versus decreasing.
And two ways. You can do it during the night analysis, or you can do it also while making some relaxing state and see the evolution through all the days. And
So you can measure
so there are two ways to measure this lowest heart rate in the app.
Yeah. And remember, we're going to have a separate clip here on iThrive measuring the access to deep sleep, which is so rejuvenating, and that's going to be part of that. So, number one, we measure stress by checking long-term heart rate, relax versus stress. Two, we measure increase or decrease in overall coherence. And that's going to be a separate film clip on how iThrive measures coherence. We have a unique way to do that, the third order power spectrum. It's beautiful. So basically, if you're in phase, if you're coherent, your heart is ringing like a laser, and that indicates stress disappearing. So that's the second way. The third way, which we're going to discuss more of right here, is actually a breakthrough that Patrick developed, which is measuring the resonance, the entrainment between the electrical peaks of the body, the HRV peak, the EKG peak, versus the pressure wave peak. And that phase shift is displayed beautifully in the iThrive with Patrick's insight. In fact, maybe you were going to explain how you came to that insight when you were working on people?
Yeah, but when I was working on my first app on PC and making some records of clients on the table with sacrocranial therapy, I've noticed that most of them, when they are stressed, there was not a perfect fit between the pressure wave, so which is related to the sacrocranial wave, and the HRV. Normally when you breathe, your heart rate increase when you breathe in and decrease when you breathe out. And normally the pressure wave should also follow this shape. And in fact, I've noticed that when people were stressed, and there was not a perfect correlation between these two waves, even if the peak of the spectrum was at the same place, so the same frequency, but when you display the wave on the screen, you see that there was a shift between them. That gave me the idea to use it as a stress indicator. And in fact, when people get more relaxed, this shift tend to disappear, and there is a best fit between the two curves. So now on this app, on iThrive app, what we
Here's the long wave.
Yeah, we use
that
it
pressure wave.
And we use this display of the wave also on breath training to see if there is a perfect fit or not between these two curves. So the electrical curve, which is HRV, and the pressure wave, so what you told the liquid and the electric part, so it's a fit between these two. And while making some breath exercises, we can see if there is a good correlation or not, and this is related to stress.
If they're in phase. And we want to be very clear what those two waves that Patrick is speaking about are. That you have this long wave, this is this wave on the wave we've been talking about here, which is the pressure wave.
This is, in yellow, this is the pulses.
That's the actual...
The blood pressure pulses,
That's
which is related to heartbeat.
Yeah, that's
so, and they are making, well, there is a wave in the wave.
A wave on the
which,
wave, waving.
Wave on the wave, yes, which is a lower frequency wave.
Right. And the idea is that if you were to actually feel the pulse peak that you feel here, that's the actual HRV peak, that's in time with
Yeah.
EKG.
Yeah.
But if this pressure wave gets out of phase with the actual pulse peak, the HRV, that means your body isn't relaxed enough that the electrical moment is in phase with the pressure moment.
Yes.
And that relaxation is the opposite of stress. And so Patrick came up with, if I may say, a genius way of displaying this on the iThrive screen. And maybe you want to explain a little bit here. This is the key graph, right, Patrick?
Yes, this is the percentage of fit between these two curves. So the HRV curve and the pressure wave curve.
So after you do a session, what is it, 4 to 8 minutes? You do a simple session.
Yes, you do a session. Well, here it's about. It takes the average of the last 4 minutes.
The last 4 minutes is
to
average.
see what happened during the session. If we,
And you get this simple
and you
report.
get- yeah.
And the report says this is the percentage of time during those X number of minutes when you were in phase and the percentage of time when you were out of phase. So the green is obviously relaxation time, 66% here, and the red is the percent of time out of phase, 34%. So after any X number of minutes, the last 4 minutes is averaged, and you see what percentage of time you were relaxed and in phase, low stress, versus the time you were in stress and out of phase. And that percentage, over time, we realize, is a meaningful and useful measure of stress. And that's the breakthrough that iThrive.com, actually 3 ways to measure stress, and the most creative, unique way comes right out of Patrick's beautiful experience.
To see the fit between these two curves. Yeah.
Basically, your body comes into resonance. It's classic. Thank you. So that's how iThrive measures stress.